Now guys, I don't want to say the word, it's forbidden in the Zelda community and I've never ever even thought about doing a video on them before this trailer. But I guess if it's already in the title I'll have to say their name now. The Zonai. Honestly, they've always been a hot topic when it comes to both Breath of the Wild and the sequel to Breath of the Wild. And even though I haven't dug into them as much as some other creators who have literally done feature-long documentaries on the group, and you know, I've only mentioned them really in reference to their ruins around the game, but I think it's time that I come out and admit something. Before the newest Breath of the Wild 2 trailer, I was not a believer of the Zonai. To catch you up if you aren't aware, the Zonai were a race of people in Breath of the Wild's Hyrule that apparently up and left or died out many years ago, before the Calamity. It's said that the Barbarian armour actually once belonged to the Zonai. Many have speculated that the Zonai are actually very similar to, or are actually the Twilight. But alas, we do not have this info just yet. The specifics are that they were a tribe long ago before the events of Breath of the Wild unfolded, and some speculated that they would play a much larger part in Breath of the Wild's sequel than they did in the original game anyway, because they were only implied in the first game really. And honestly, I almost chuckled at some Zonai theories, thinking it was a load of nonsense and that it would come out to be nothing later on down the line when Breath of the Wild 2 did eventually come out. I used to be a non-believer. Well, today I'm here to say that I might actually be a believer in the Zonai now. But when I say that, I still don't think that this is all absolute solid evidence just yet that the Zonai will be in the game. I think that there is a chance though, which is at least much more than I would have said a month ago. So with this ludicrously long intro to the Zonai and really my brief background to the whole Zonai situation out of the way, I want to quickly talk about a few little things that are seen in the newest trailer for Breath of the Wild 2 and exactly how they could correlate to the Zonai. Along with that, I'm going to discuss what these things could actually be to the Zonai. The concept will become much clearer as the video progresses, I'm sure of it. Now, before we get started, if you'd like to see weekly Zelda videos, then please do subscribe to the channel. We're progressing up to 1,600 subscribers already, so it'd be amazing if we could hit it soon. Now, let's get into the bulk of the video. First of all, let's look into some structures that we're pretty darn sure were first built by the Zonai, or were at least planned by the Zonai tribe in Breath of the Wild. The most notable area with Zonai relevance seems to be around the Spring of Courage at the south of the map in the Faron region. If we check the architecture around Faron, we'll be able to see heads of dragons, or otherwise fictional animals that didn't appear in the flesh during Breath of the Wild, unless maybe it was a rendition of the Dragon for All that oversees that region of land. The important thing of note here is that head, and really all of the random structures that all look pretty decrepit. Keep in mind that all of these structures are made of stone that looks weathered, and realistically most of these stone structures have probably broken down over time due to weathering. Meaning that there was most likely once a time where a lot of Faron region and probably other areas around the map were made of stone structures, perhaps even long before the Calamity 10,000 years ago itself. First, let's take a look at the structure seen within the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer, most notably in the sky. Then we'll dig into presumably what are on the ground sections of the game. Every piece of architecture that we've seen in these structures in the sky are stone made, and not just processed stone. It's stone that's been clean cut for the buildings themselves. The paths are stone, though I'd expect this even of modern Hyrule. This upside down pyramid thing looks a lot like stone, or some other type of primitive material that's no longer being used in Breath of the Wild's Hyrule. But I can't really come to any clear conclusions on that one, considering we can only see it from very far away, and it's being obscured by a cloud in the trailer. Link runs by some stone towards what looks like an opening to a Shinto shrine. Once again, this is quite far away from him, so it's hard to tell the materials, but it could very well be made of stone. This Igor looks made of stone or other ancient materials. Along with this is yet another clean-cut stone structure, and this one, along with a few others later on in the trailer, give us a glimpse at some green tapestry or symbols, which is definitely interesting considering the primary colour that I've seen the Zonai established as is dark green, down to their Faron region heritage most likely, which is the most nature-full area in Breath of the Wild, spouting many shades of green, dark green most of all. Next we see presumably Link's arm resting on a stone floor or a stone rest. Around his glowing arm seems to be a language, perhaps relating to ancient Hyrule, the Zonai perhaps. All I do know is that this isn't Gerudo language. Perhaps this means the floating symbols at the beginning of the original teaser trailer also allude to a new language, but I can't say for sure just yet on that one. Though I will offer my own opinion here and say that I really like when we get new languages in the Zelda series. It doesn't happen too often, but it would be amazing if they could give us the alphabet yet again in yet another big book of things on Breath of the Wild sequel, since the development of this game could be just as cool to see through a book again if they did create a new language and other stuff. But anyway, I thought I'd throw that in there. Then the final shot relating to stonework is the final shot of Link that we see in the trailer. There's yet another one of those structures that we saw next to the Igor, to the side of Link this time. Again, clear-cut stone, nothing else. There even appears to be a seat or something that is still made of stone. To me, this architecture screams ancient, and so could be related to the Zonai. But besides the architecture in the next game, how else do I think they could play a role? Well, there's at least a couple more things to talk about other than just stone. Remember those heads that were presumably made by the Zonai tribe? Look at what Link with the Champion's Tunic equipped is currently using to battle with this new enemy. That would be something akin to a dragon's head that is breathing fire out onto an enemy. And something else further linking the Zonai and this new mysterious object is the fact that it looked identical to one of the heads seen at the ruins. This would mean that the Link would have been able to find these items by talking to a member of the Zonai, who appear to be long dead by now. But maybe he'll have to venture into various temples made by the Zonai for these weapons or something. I'm not sure. There's a few ways that Link could obtain these weapons, to be honest. Chests, dungeons, randomly scattered around the world. I've seen some say that this is a fragment of his new arm, and there's two things wrong with that. First of all, and probably most obviously, his new and improved arm is on his right side, not his left, as seen in this section of the trailer. And then second off, you can see Link holding it like a shield, which is honestly a pretty exciting prospect, as we may have the option to attack with these kinds of weapons in our left hand, or shield ourselves with the usual shields. A pretty funny comparison here is that it's kind of much akin to arms. It's a weird comparison, but never mind about all that. I think this is a Zonai made weapon for Link, and I also think there'll be more of these weapons that do different things. For example, this one shoots fire out of its mouth. There are these owl statues in the Faron region. Perhaps an owl head could be a weapon that pushes enemies away with wind, much like the leaf in the original game. Or another dragon that freezes enemies in place with ice. There's a ton of ways that the Zonai could supply Link with weapons if this does come into fruition. Along with this, in this shot we can also see more of that green writing in the rocks that we could see next to the Igor, which could mean that the area that this shot takes place in is already somewhere related to the Zonai. Perhaps when Link beats this foe, a chest will appear on the pedestal behind the enemy. It does look like a pedestal that a chest would appear on in past Zelda games to me, but we'll see, as more trailers for the game come out periodically. Finally for me is something I've seen a few people touch on by now, but this stuck out like a sore thumb to me during the trailer. Through Breath of the Wild, we were shown the symbol of the Sheikah, the Sheikah eye that we all knew and loved even before Breath of the Wild's release. Then we were given the version of the Sheikah that broke away from their old clan and formed their own, known only as the Yiga. The symbol is basically the Sheikah eye except it's flipped over, symbolising two forces almost at war with each other. Well, in this trailer we're given yet another symbol, and this could very well just be a symbol on a shield, much like many shields we've seen in the past Zelda games, but honestly the clear representation of the eye once again tells me that the Zonai may have even been a part of the Sheikah long ago, way before Breath of the Wild, and split off, making their own symbol, but instead of making war, they just wanted to live separately and peacefully, and this symbol right here could be the universal symbol for the Zonai. There's not much more I can say on the eye itself, but I will say that it being there in the first place could show us that the Zonai will be helping Link on his venture, or at least their old gear will be used to help Link bring down Ganondorf. Speaking of which, I feel really sorry for Link having to do this for a second time all over again. So, tell me in the comments down below, do you think that the Zonai could be in Breath of the Wild 2, or do you think that this stuff still sounds pretty far-fetched? And tell me why down there too. I'll get around to replying to pretty much everyone. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, then please do leave a like rating and subscribe to see more videos from me. So I hope you'll join me for more Breath of the Wild 2 speculation videos and other videos piecing together what all of this means. Along with videos on other Zelda games too. The people you can see on screen right now are the coolest people in existence, as they're my Patreon supporters. And as you can see, Sumji is extremely cool up there with the Zonai coloured name and everything. Thanks so much for the continued support, guys. If you'd like to join them, then you can for as little as £1 or $1.50 a month. Or even more if you're feeling generous. You can find the link to that in the description. Along with that link, you'll find the link to the rest of my media platforms, so follow me on them to keep up with me. So for now, I'm going to go and stare at the trailer for yet another week, and I'll see you all next week. Please do stay safe.